Most people think a juicer is just a wellness gadget for Monday morning detox routines. But in some restaurant kitchens, they use cold press extraction to get the very best out of their ingredients. Today I'm testing the limits of cold press technology across 3 distinct levels, from standard morning prep to restaurant techniques, putting the familiar Ninja juicer up against a high capacity newcomer, the Canoly 3-in-1 juicer. I'm going to be pushing these consumer grade appliances to their limit to see if there's one that's right for you. I'm Gary from Big Spud, and I've done all sorts of gadget comparisons and recipe comparisons over the years, so I think I'm in a good place to decide which machine is right for you. So first of all, they're juicers. They're machines designed to extract the juice from fruit and vegetables and other things besides. We're going to be trying out a range of recipes to see which each machine is capable of. And if each one has a space in your kitchen, both of them extract the juice from whatever you put in and decant the pulp elsewhere. I wonder if either of them is better at pulp than the other, or if you get more juice out of one than the other, and see what the technical ups and downs are of each machine. Now, full transparency, Canoly reached out to me because they were interested in how I would handle this machine and how it would compare to another market leader. They wanted to see how the 3-in-1 juicer stood up to a demanding kitchen workflow. I don't take sponsorships lightly, but they've assured me total creative freedom, so I can say whatever I want about this machine, or this for that matter. Ninja certainly haven't sponsored me, so that I can give you a fair review of it. But they provided me with this machine in order that I can try these things out. Let's start with the basics. How do they handle a simple apple juice? I bought a whole bunch of apples here, all from the same supplier, same variety. The differences are there straight away. The Ninja's hopper is only a certain size, so you need to cut those apple wedges to a certain size so that they fit down the chute. Meanwhile, the Canoly's big drum means you can fill it with more or less whole apples and it'll happily chew away. Some of the documentation recommend you core the apple first, so there's a little bit of prep. Notice how the Ninja dumps its pulp here and the Canoly 3-in-1 pumps its pulp out here. And with that juice extracted, let's look at the yield. Actually, very little difference between the 2 amounts of yield. They've produced very similar amounts of liquid. There's not a lot in that. Only difference is I had to cut the apples up a bit small for the Ninja, and in the Canoly 3-in-1 juicer, I could keep them a bit more whole, though I did have to core them. So, let's not compare apples to oranges, let's look at oranges. Similar story here. You will have to peel both. Both recommend you do that because anything that goes through the juicer, you're going to get the juice of. And of course, the pith of oranges is quite bitter. So we've had to peel both. And again, I'm putting wedges into the Ninja. Meanwhile, with the Canoly 3-in-1, I'm able to put in more or less whole fruits, though I did have slightly better results if I halve them to give the teeth something to bite onto, but that's just what I have found. And again, let's have a look what we get with a pineapple. Again, having to make long fingers of pineapple to feed into the Ninja juice. Meanwhile, I can just take pretty much a whole peeled pineapple and chuck it in the Canoly. It takes a few minutes to get through it, but I'm hands-free while it carries on juicing it. The juices that both provide are indistinguishable in taste. They both produce great tasting juice of these 3 fruit juices I've tried, which is to be expected, and yields are extremely similar as well. How noisy are these machines? Well, they operate at a similar level. Well, that is to say, not very noisy. Certainly quieter than a food processor or an espresso machine, something like that, and just hum along quite nicely. Both machines are pretty much the same. The only other noise you'll get is for things like apples. Occasionally the skin squeaks as it's getting pushed through the machine. Again, both have got that issue. But really, I wouldn't say noise is particularly a concern with either of these. So a word on the design of these machines. The Ninja juicer looks very much like other products in the Ninja range. That gunmetal grey, semi-premium finish, which is actually plastic, but looks good from a distance. It's kind of an odd shape, but it's a juicer, that's what it's got to do. Meanwhile, over at the Canoly, it's functional, not crazily aesthetic, but a very similar colour scheme. It has a handle at the back, not that you need to move this around a lot, but it helps a little bit with moving. I would say the Ninja has slightly more going for it in the design aesthetics, as well as being a slightly smaller form factor. Let's have a look at what you get with each machine. So, with the Ninja juicer, you get the contraption itself, a feeding chute with a pusher. It has a measuring jug where the juice is dispensed into, and it has a little cap where you can stop the juice flow on and off, and a bucket to catch the pulp. You've got a start button and a hold so that you can reverse it if things get a bit chewed up. With the Ninja, you also get a choice of a fine or coarse pulp sieve thing, so that you can choose how much bits you want in your juice. I'm a no bits kind of guy. You also get a brush, because some of these parts are a little fiddly to clean. More on that in a second. Meanwhile, at the Canoly 3-in-1, you get obviously the base unit and the hopper and the jug, with a cup with an additional mesh filter over it, and a cup to catch all the pulp. You also get a second filter, which is specifically for sorbets. We'll come back to that shortly. You also get a cleaning brush for some of the harder to reach bits. But I've already hinted at it. Every kitchen gadget review video has to answer the question, how miserable is the cleaning process? Both machines disassemble with a simple twist. Nothing is particularly difficult to remove. You're probably best to flick out the little bits of pulp into your food recycling that you find as you go along. And the Canoly 3-in-1's pulp ejector comes apart so that you can pull all the detail out of that. Both of the parts that do the actual juicing, i.e. not the motors, all of them for both machines can be put in the dishwasher, which I'm really grateful for. What I tend to find most useful is to have a bowl of hot soapy water ready, and as soon as you're finished, get everything in the water so that it doesn't stick. Once stuff dries out in either of these machines, it's a real pain to hydrate it and make it clean again. Make use of the brush that each provides to clean out any little fiddly bits that get stuck in grooves. Now let's take this up to level 2. Let's make an apple nut milk. Now, Ninja's model doesn't recommend using nuts, but the Canoly 3-in-1 does. Here are some almonds that I've soaked overnight in water. I'm just going to chuck them in with the water and an apple and allow that to come out. And you get a delicious creamy, sweet milk which you can drink neat, or I found really tasty over some cereal. And let's try something a bit more vegetal. Here I'm grinding celery, carrots and ginger for a healthy juice boost. Again with the Ninja, I'm cutting everything quite small so that it all goes in. With the Canoly 3-in-1, it's all getting chucked into the pot. Again, no difference in taste. It comes down to how workflow works for you. So far we're both making juices. The Canoly 3-in-1 able to handle nuts. There's something else the Canoly 3-in-1 has up its sleeve, and that's sorbet. I've got some bags here of ready frozen mango and pineapple chunks, which I just bought from the supermarket. Of course you could do this yourself. And I'm just putting it through the machine with the sorbet bucket on. This, rather than pushing out pulp, pushes out delicious sorbet of an excellent texture. Yes, Canoly sent me this juicer to try, but genuinely this is a delicious sorbet. But it gave me other ideas. What if we push this up to level 3? A frozen Gazpacho Sorbet. A Gazpacho is a chilled tomato soup very popular in Spain and the Mediterranean. Well, here I am juicing a whole bunch of heritage tomatoes. I then take that juice and pour it into ice cube trays. And then we're going to use the sorbet function to push that through the machine to get a perfectly chilled Gazpacho tomato sorbet, finished with a little fresh basil and a balsamic glaze. Excellent for the hot weather we're experiencing right now in the UK. And what about a luscious dressing? Here I'm pulverising an entire bag of spinach, just allowing it to become this emerald green fluid, and just pouring that around a beautiful piece of sea bass. That amazing contrast that will elevate your plates to the next level. So we have two juicers, the Ninja cold press juicer, JC151UK, which retails at around $129.99, and you've got the Canoly 3-in-1 juicer, which retails around $219.99, though is often on discount, and I can offer you a further discount by checking the description of this video. Which one is right for you? In all honesty, they produce very similar juices. If you are just juicing, there's not a lot in it. Both produce this excellent pulp, which, by the way, I've found useful for feeding the birds, for adding to a muesli. There's lots of uses for this stuff. The Ninja model has a slightly lower profile, which might fit better in your kitchen. The Canoly 3-in-1 is slightly taller, but that gives you the advantage of you can dump everything and go, plus the ability to process nuts and create sorbets to give it a little edge. So it has a slightly higher RRP, but it has a couple more features as well, and that can help you decide if this is the right model for you. I don't think you'll go wrong by buying either, but if you have any questions about it, I'd love it if you could pop them in the comments down below. With thanks to Canoly for sponsoring this video, and if you've liked what you've seen, Canoly have offered Big Spud viewers a $20 discount if you use the link in my description below. Your support means a lot, so thank you. And if you enjoyed that comparison, you'll probably enjoy my comparison of these ice cream machines and decide which one is the right one for you, and I will catch you next time.